Hi, welcome to Mathematics with Tom. I am Tom, and today in this video we're going to talk about the last aspect of the probability distribution, and that is the variance of the probability distribution. And I'm going to use this probability distribution that's already set up for us. This came from our experiment of having a family of 4 children. So what I'd like to do is 2 things. One is we're going to learn about the formula, where it comes from, we're going to derive it, and we're also going to find it for this specific example. So let me, remind you actually, the variance was equal to the sum of the data minus the mean squared divided by the total number of data. And if you did it in this manner, we use the notation for sigma squared. And in this case, that is correct because we are looking at the entire world or the population of outcomes for a family of 4. So we can use the sigma as opposed to the S symbol. And even though the video is titled variance, remember that if you have variance, then you also have standard deviation because you just take a square root. So let's try that. Now, let's go back, and so this is the sum of the data minus the mean. Now, we had already figured out for this distribution, our mean is 2. Okay? And we'd also found out that, I'm going to use this little orange here, that the frequency for each one was this numerator here. It was the numerator of these fractions. So what that means is the x1, the event of a family with 0 girls, it occurred once. The event of x2, family of 1 girl, occurred 4 times, and so on. We're going to use that information now to use this formula and see where it leads us. All right, let's do that. So my first data value was a 0, and I subtract a mean of 2. We square it, and then I'm going to write up next to it how many times it occurred. Well, that just happened once, plus. Then I take my next data value. Well, my next data value is the 1. And I subtract 2. I square it, and then I multiply it by how many times a family could have 4 children, of which 1 was a girl, and that occurred 4 different ways. It's just easier to do it by multiplying rather than writing 1 minus 2 squared plus 1 minus 2 squared plus 1 minus 2 squared plus 1 minus 2 squared. We could just multiply it by 4. So plus, our next one was a family with 2 girls. We subtract the mean of 2 girls. We square it, and we multiply it by the number of ways it occurred, which is 6. Plus, our next one was 3. We subtract a family of 3 girls. We subtract the mean of 2. We square it, and we multiply it by 4. It occurred, and that's this frequency right there. Plus, our next one was a family of 4 children, all of which were girls. So 4 minus the mean of 2, square it, and it happened once. And we take all of those, and we divide it by 16. Now, in another video, we undid a fraction, and let me remind you of how we did that. We said something like this. We said that if you have the fraction of 3, that's red, it's kind of hard to see. We said if you have a fraction of 3/7, and you added maybe 2/7, well, since the denominators are common, they're the same, the 7s, this is 3 plus 2 divided by 7, and so in other words, this is 5/7. Oops, 5/7. Well, if you look at the problem below here in white, we're essentially at this 3 plus 2 over 7. Now, I could race off to the 5/7 and get my answer, but I want to learn more about this formula, how I could rewrite it how I could think of it in another way is let's go to this left. In other words, let's break this up, all the sums, let's break these up into many more fractions, all with the common denominator of 16. So that's going to be the avenue that we want. So I'm going to rewrite this as and I'm going to do this and write it this way. I'm going to write 0 minus 2 squared times 1 over 16. No, you know what? That's a little too fast. Hang on. Let's write it as equals 0 minus 2 squared times 1 over 16 plus 1 minus 2 squared times 4 over 16 plus we have a 2 minus a 2 squared times 6 over 16 plus, let's see, plus I have a 3 minus a 2 squared times 4 over 16 plus 4 minus 2 squared times 1 over 16. There we go. Now we're making progress. It may not look it. Notice this. Here's another little red, pink, or magenta moment. If I have something like 3 over 1, or let's write this. Say I have the number of, let me erase that. Say I have something like 3 times 4 over 7. I can break this up. I can write this as, now this is where it's a little different than adding. I can say this is the same as 3 over 1 times 4 over 7. Because 3 times 4, that's just this numerator. And 1 times 7 down here in the denominator, it's going to give me 7. Well, 3 over 1 is just 3. So I could write that as 3 times 4 sevenths. We are here in this orange spot right here. And we want to be in this other orange box. So let me show you how we do that. I'm going to write this as, back to our equation now, 0 minus 2 squared times 1/16 plus parenthesis 1 minus 2 squared times 4/16 plus parenthesis 2 minus 2 squared times 6/16 plus parenthesis 3 minus 2 squared times 4/16 plus parenthesis 4 minus 2 parenthesis squared times 1/16. Wow, well, wait a minute. Look at what we just did. Really, this is the problem now of 0, that was x1. So this is x1 minus the mean squared times the probability of x1. Plus, this is going to be 1. Well, 1 is x2 minus the mean squared times the probability of x2. That's what this 4/16 is. It's the probability of the x2. And we can continue. The next one, the 2, that was our data value x3. And we subtracted from it the mean. We squared it. And then the 6/16, that's just the probability of x3 plus, then the next one, this 3 was our x4, minus the mean, which is mu, squared, and then the 4/16, well, that is the probability of x4 plus our last one, it'll just fit, I'll bring it down here a little bit, is x5 minus mu squared times the probability of x5. And now we can write this. We can clean all this up, and then we'll go back and we'll get our result. So in other words, this is just consolidated into saying the sum of the data x minus the mean squared times the probability of x. And that is how you find the variance for a probability distribution. And let's come back here. You're probably dying to know. Let's just summarize this or clean this up. I'm going to copy. Let's copy that line. Let's bring it down below and let's figure out what is that variance anyway. Okay. Well, let's clean this up. Here we go. Let me get rid of that little 2 there. So our variance, our sigma squared, is going to be 0 minus 2 is negative 2. We square it to get 4. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus. The next one here is the 1 minus 2. That's a negative 1. Square it for 1. Multiply it by 4. Excuse me. Plus. 2 minus 2 is 0. Square is 0 times 6, still 0. Plus, now we're on to this 3 minus 2, which is 1. Square it, that's 1. Multiply it by 4 for 4. Plus our final term, 4 minus 2 is 2. Square it to get 4. Multiply it by 1 for 4. And then we're going to divide all that by 16. Well, 4 plus 4 plus 0 plus 4 plus 4, that is 16 over 16. This is 1. And then our final step is that the standard deviation, well, that's the square root of whatever the variance was. Well, we just found out that the variance is 1. Well, the square root of 1 is 1. And this is one of those very few cases where the standard deviation and the variance are the same. And that's how you find the variance for a probability distribution and where the formula or how the formula is derived. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.